This model kit review is of the C-17A Globemaster 3, and this is a 1/44 scale model by Revell. It's a fairly large model, even though it's 1/44 scale, because it's a very large plane. There are the colors needed, and some pictures there of the finished model, though you won't be able to get those interior views seen very well because they'll be closed up. As you can see, there's a fair amount of detail. Not really much else on this box except for some details there about the plane. So let's open it up and have a look inside. So we've got a number of sprues here to look at. The first ones we'll look at are the very large ones here of the main body. These are unfortunately raised panel lines, and there's a fair amount of detail. These are recessed panel lines here. We have our engine nacelles, and not sure what these parts are for. Possibly these are our landing gear parts. And on the other side here we have the other half of the fuselage and tail. Same thing with our engine nacelles and probably our landing gear parts. Now this is interesting here because we have, it looks like, the inside of the plane right there with all the ribbing. So that'll need to go inside those main fuselage. And then we have our wings, and they seem to have a fair amount of curvature, which we'll need to correct. But it has our built-in flap and aileron actuators. Here we have our stabilizer. Let's have a look at this other side here. Exactly the same, except this is the top of our wing and the other side of the fuselage inside. But these are all recessed lines and fairly well made, good level of quality and detail. Let's have a look at these ones here. So this is interesting here. We have our cockpit. There's obviously not a lot of detail there, but it's really irrelevant because it's going to be hidden. This is probably part of the ramp, the inside. Here's part of the, so you've got stairs up to the cockpit. Some additional stairs. These are the ones that come out of the plane. And there's the outside door. Here's the lower part of the fuselage with our ramp, which you can probably cut open over there if you wanted to allow the ramp to come down. That way you could see inside. Here's the inside of the ramp and the inside of the cargo bay. Here we have some bay doors and more parts of the front and the nose here, the fuselage. Little winglets here, which are designed to help reduce the vortices coming off the wings. And we have some nose wheels. Everything is well taped together. So over here we have our glass, which is fairly well shaped. We have a lot of little pieces of glass here. You can see there, tons of little pieces. And it looks like we have 4 of the same here. And these are the engines. So here's the turbine coming out the back. Here we have our fan, nose cones, the ring for the nacelle. We've got some wheel parts. So fairly efficient delivery of parts, with multiple of the same. Now we're going to have a look at our decals and instructions. So first of all, our decals. Nicely printed, good level of detail, and lots of little decals. Here are the instructions, so some details about the plane there. And we have the colors needed. We have our parts listing, and it looks like you can, in fact, have the back door open. So that's interesting. And we start off with actually with that cut to open it up. And then we build the lower part of the fuselage. Looks like those decals are probably going to go on there. And then we start to build our nose gear. And all the rollers, looks like there are rollers there. And then we've got the main gear. We have the main gear door open. And your stabilizers go on. Pulled our wings. And next put all the fuselage parts together. Wings then go on. Main gear go on. We start to build our engines here. Nose gear and wheel well covers. So that's with them closed. If it's flying, that's with them open. But it's fairly easy to follow because they'll show you that's flying, that's stationary with the cargo bay door down. And then we have our painting and decal guide here. So it's a fair amount of detail here. And looks like here's another option. So all in all, fair amount of detail for a very small model and fairly well molded.